We are going to start by being destructive. Making destructive edits, that is under the image menu, I can make adjustments. And for example, I might notice that this image has a blue cast from the outdoor light reflecting on this statue. To get rid of that, I will use image adjustments. And as I come down, there is a variety of photo filters that automatically combats this type of situation. That anything you do under image adjustments is permanent and destructive. Before I run the photo filter, let's take a look at levels. Because levels gives you a histogram or a map of where the data lies in the image. This image is really considered a mid-key image. It has a lot of image in the shadow or dark areas, plenty in the middle tones, things that hover around 50%, and also quite a bit in the light. You may have an image that's very dark, where the hills are all piled up here in the dark end, or image that's very light, where the hills are all piled up here on the light end. But just make a note at how smooth these mountains are in the image histogram. Okay, I am going to cancel, and I haven't done anything yet. I will run image adjustments, photo filter, and as I scoot this over to see what it's doing, I often like to turn preview off and on, and it's almost like putting on a pair of glasses. You didn't know how bad it was until you could see better. When I turn the filter back on, this lovely warming filter has combated that blue cast that existed over the entire image. You can also increase how much warming is happening, and I could slide it back down to do less. So I am getting none, but I am going to leave that the default of 25. You can even take a moment to play with a few different options, but without going into any detail, I will just leave it at the default. Click OK. Now I would like more contrast in this image, so again, I'm going to be destructive. Image adjustments, levels. You can already see severe peaks starting at the top of the histogram. If I lighten the midtones, everything between black and white, I get a brighter image, but my dark details, my shadows, are starting to suffer. So I will scoop this over to the right, a little bit to right, to reach up on my shadows, and light, turn preview off, and on, off, a little flat, a little boring, on, more contrast, and I could even attempt to go a little bit brighter, before, after, much back, little bit sharper, more compelling in my opinion. Now I will click OK again. I have made 2 destructive edits, image adjustments, levels, and I'm only using this to show you what was just destroyed using image adjustments has compressed tones in a way that they can't be gotten back. Once you save and close the file, all of these white dropouts, exactly that information, is dropped out of the image altogether that I cannot recover unless I undo. So having said all that, I'm going to cancel and revert back to the last saved version. Now we're going to attempt this in a fully editable, non-destructive way. Instead of using image adjustments, I will use the Adjustments panel, added several versions ago to Photoshop. And the first adjustment that I'll make, you can surf through and see you've got all the options that you have under your image adjustments. Many the first we'll go to is the photo filter. How? Click one, and I'm instantly on a warming filter. Again, I can do a demo for more warming or less. And I had the same settings to play with. Others for using Photoshop for years may notice that there's a brand new panel here called the Properties panel. That's where anything you do in adjustments will be altered later. For those of you who were brand new, you'll notice that I have a photo filter layer that's now appeared on top of my background layer, kind of like a clear piece of acetate. Over top, that is making a correction. That's the first correction. Now I will use adjustments to do levels. So I look for levels, and you just pause for 2 seconds. It'll tell you what it doesn't even give you of yellow tooltip telling you what the button is intended to do. Click once to add levels. There's my nice, clean, smooth histogram. Brightness up a bit, and are rich in my shadows, and click the icon next to Properties to collapse it. So to see a complete before and after, I'll click and hold my mouse down and slide down. That's before. Click and hold my mouse over the MTI column and slide out to turn both on, and that's after. And if we click on the background layer and take a peek under Image Adjustments Levels, you could see I've still got a full clean histogram and have gotten both edits they attempted to do destructively earlier made on this image. The good news is, if you say, this is a Photoshop document with layers, you could come back tomorrow, a week from now, year from now, and double-click to edit it, so maybe, what more or less warming, I can also click on the icon next to Levels, and maybe I went a little bit too dark on the shadows. I could pull those back. Nothing has been harmed. That will tell you there is also a histogram panel under Window, Histogram. See, you can watch this constantly as you go, but I just went to the old school levels for a solid black and white display of this. Now we've seen what can be lost in an image in an attempt to make it look better. Be sure and build a habit of making your corrections and effects using non-destructive tools like the options on the Adjustments panel.